And now we go to Jacques Germain Soufflot, the man who designed the Pantheon in Paris, and not only that famous building for all to see, 1713, 1780, but he died on the 29th of August. Here we have a list in Romanian of some of his works, if not all of his works. At the beginning, he worked in Lyon, and then he moved to Paris. So he did also l'Hôtel de la Marine in Place de la Concorde. There are two identical buildings. He did one of them. From what I read, Madonna, when she performs in Paris, or when she performed in Paris, she was housed in Hôtel de la Marine, so done by Soufflot. And then what else is here? We'll look at some of his works. This was the man, Soufflot, Jacques Germain Soufflot, elegantly dressed, and successful he was. He began, this might be actually one of his first works, if not the first one, Lyon Opera, the opera in Lyon. Lyon is a very important city in the center of France, and not far away from Lyon is the well-known work by Le Corbusier, La Tourette, the monastery La Tourette. And in Lyon also there are very important architects who built, you know, from Jean Nouvel to Wolf Prix, Le Musée des Confluences, and Tony Garnier, whose name is connected with Lyon organically. It's a very interesting city and very, very important for France, and in architecture also very important for the whole world, actually. This is actually the opera. The top part was done by Jean Nouvel, but it seems the first two floors were done by Soufflot. So we have a dialogue over a long period of time between two architects, Soufflot and Jean Nouvel. So this was done by Soufflot, the building, but the top addition was by Jean Nouvel. He's considered a neoclassical architect. So this is an opera building. When I talked about yesterday about Ai Weiwei, the Chinese artist and architect, I learned that now he's busy doing directing an opera, Turandot, Princess Turandot, at the opera in Rome. Very inviolable indeed. I mean, that man has a very rich life. He builds, he paints, he does all kinds of extravagant art. And also now he's directing an opera in Rome, at the opera in Rome. Anyway, so here we see the building before Jean Nouvel added his intervention at the top. Again, this is Soufflot in Lyon. I should have had more pictures, but anyway. Hôtel Dieu, Hotelul Dumnezeu, Hôtel Dieu in Lyon, not the smallest building in the world, that's for sure, quite large. And it is amazing in a way that at that time such large buildings were built. But it's possible, I don't know actually, if the function was the same at the time of Soufflot. It's possible it was not, but it's also possible that it was. So this is also in Lyon. In Lyon also there are at least two buildings very interesting by very interesting architecture bureau or atelier or studio, Jacob and McFarlane. I had a chance to have a dialogue with McFarlane from Sala Freșcelor in Bucharest while he was in Paris for an hour and a half. And I asked him, what do you recommend students in architecture? And he said, take off from the School of Architecture after 1 or 2 or 3 years at the most of study, go to life, work in a Starbucks, work anything, and for 1 or 2 years stay away from architecture, because you'll learn a lot distancing yourself from architecture and learning from life. And it's possible he was right. He met his partner, Jacob, I forgot her name, his wife, at SciArc in Los Angeles. And the list I sent you today, I mean, with that exalted message, you saw perhaps that on top of all the schools of architecture is SciArc from Los Angeles. The school which says, to hell with regulations, we are going for the unknown. That's SciArc, a school founded by Tom Main and Eric Owen Moss and others. I think even the Frank Gehry had some participation there, and he's very involved still with that school, although he's 93 or 94. So this is Hotel Dieu. I wonder if God visited Lyon, he probably would have been received here. Why would have been called, why the name Hotel Dieu? Anyway. Not very tall, but certainly very long. Soufflot, the French neoclassical architect. Now we arrive at this, one of the most important buildings in Paris, if we are to judge it from maybe a more conventional point of view, but still, you know, you cannot visit Paris and say, I didn't see the Pantheon, especially since you consider that there are some very important cultural figures of France who are buried there. And the latest you know, guest of the Pantheon in this field, in this sense, is I just read that North American dancer who seduced both Adolphe Loos and Le Corbusier. What's her name? My memory, I'm getting old, I guess. I'll remember. One of the most impressive buildings of the neoclassical period, the Pantheon, originally built as the Church of Saint-Geneviève, was conceived as a monument to Paris and the French nation as much as it was the Church of Paris' patron saint. So I guess the patron saint of Paris was Saint Geneviève. By the way, today is a very important holiday for Orthodox Christianity about John the Baptist. You know, he died, and in fact, I wanted to make a presentation about churches dedicated to Saint John, and I got so carried away about that message with that statistic about the presence of 2 Romanian schools on that list, that I forgot to do it, and I really regret, because it would have been a great moment to remember Saint John. Anyway, I hope maybe I will do it next year. Jacques Germain Soufflot, its architect, was highly praised for the design, although a few of his contemporaries thought he went too far in defying tradition and structural necessity. Soufflot was heralded during his life as the restorer of greatness in French architecture and the building was lauded, even before it was completed, as one of the finest in the country. So again, the Pantheon, Le Pantheon in Paris, Soufflot. Soufflot's pupil Maximilien Brebion stated that the church design was meant to unite the purity and magnificence of Greek architecture with the lightness and daring of Gothic construction. He was referring to the way in which its classical forms, such as the tall Corinthian columns and the dome, were joined with a Gothic type of structure that included the use of concealed flying buttresses and relatively light stone vaulting. So this is the building. Yeah, towards the outside looks like a, so-called classical or neoclassical building. You don't see here anything Gothic. But inside, it seems things change. Anyway, it's it's a very important building, and it's not far away from Place de la Concorde, where Soufflot also built an important hotel, l'Hôtel de la Marine. We are going to see. This is the interior of the Pantheon, and if it is considered one of the finest buildings in France, you can imagine that this is not a little thing. Personally, I don't see a lot of Gothic elements here either, but I understood that the structure, certain parts of the structure are hidden, and that structure was, had Gothic characteristics. But it is an impressive interior, no doubt. Hotel Marini in Paris, Chateau de Lay. For some entries, I do not have pictures. This is it's called the chateau, but it's rather, just a building or a villa at the most. Anyway, yes, his style was austere, if not severe, but also with a certain reticence in some works, which is, I think, to be appreciated. Temple du Change, the Temple of Change in Lyon. I don't know why it is called, but anyway, that's how it is called, the Temple of Change. You'd expect something else for these words, but still, it's a significant structure in Lyon, and built by this man who built a few other things in Lyon. We already saw two of them, l'Hôtel Dieu and the Opera. I wonder today, what if we had such a program now for a project, the Temple of Change? How would you do it? I think it would be a very interesting subject, a very interesting theme, the Temple of Change. As the motto of the Vienna Biennial in Architecture, Art and Design was 2 years ago, and I think this year as well, is change was our only chance. So then maybe a temple for change or of change would be an interesting theme to address. Classical it is, but not in a rigid way. You know, here there is a certain vibration on the main elevation, which distinguishes it from the buildings on the left and the right. You know, even moderate ornamentation. So it's a soft neoclassicism, if I am to call it so. Hotel de la Marine. Apparently, he only built a part of it, and this is the hotel where, as I said, Madonna always finds a place to stay because she likes, I guess, this building. Also, this building is identical, almost identical with one across the street on the right. And in between them is a street which goes straight into the Pantheon. So this is the other building. I should have had more pictures. I apologize, but this is in front of the Hotel de la Marine is Place de la Concorde, the famous square in Paris. And to the right is the entrance into Les Tuileries, the gardens designed by André Le Nôtre, and then moving again to the right, you reach Louvre, the Louvre Museum with the glass pyramid by IMP. So, you know, it's in a very prestigious context, urban context, across the Place de la Concorde is l'Assemblée Nationale, you know, a very important, you know, political building, so to speak, very prestigious. École de droit, the school of law in Paris. Soufflot again. Liberté, égalité, fraternité. That's what we read there. But those who promoted these three words were actually outlaws, you know. So isn't it funny that on the elevation of the building of law are engraved the words of those revolutionaries who burned down the Bastille? Anyway, history is full of contradictions, paradoxes, and even you know, sometimes, well, a lot of tragedies, of course, but sometimes also some hilarious happenings. Now, this is indeed the building of law. I mean, look at these four columns here, giant and solid and, you know, imposing. You almost tremble when you enter this building through here. This almost makes me understand why Wolf Prix stated that he hates columns. Although, you know, they could have their own beauties. I remember the columns of the Temple of Hera at Paestum in the south of Italy. Truly impressive. The building that impressed me the most of all the buildings I saw is Hera's temple in Paestum. Unbelievable. Even for Louis Kahn, Paestum was more important than the Acropolis in Athens or the Parthenon. And I would understand why. And also Goethe and Winkelmann loved Paestum. And Piranesi engraved a whole series of views of Paestum. So there, those very, very heavy pre-Doric columns are very, very, very moving. Well, these are not pre-Doric, they are, but the dimensions are, imposing respect. They are demanding respect, no question. Liberté, égalité, fraternité. History moves on. La faculté de droit, facultatea de drept in Romanian. Fontaine de la Croix du Tahoir, Paris. It's a fountain building. The fountain is here, but it's called the whole building. It's called. You'd expect just a fountain. Well, it's more than a fountain. He did the whole building. This one is more burlesque in a way. It's a rebellious neoclassicism. It's almost a rustic neoclassicism, if I am to use an oxymoron. It doesn't look like a typical neoclassical building. Rue de l'Arbre de Sec. Édifié, you see, reconstruit in 1775 by Soufflot, architect, and Boiseau, sculptor. The fountain. Maybe he did just the fountain, actually. I have to double check this. But I feel tempted to think that he did the whole building. I don't know. Anyway, Soufflot. Paris, a fountain, 18th century, 250, 240 years ago. The sculpture, though, does not belong to him. The lion spitting out water. Nymphe la Faisanderie Château. This is, I don't know exactly what its function is in a park. So he designed this, I think now when I look at this work and I look back at the work which I saw, it's possible that the whole building was designed by him. Because here we see Soufflot again with the same kind of rusticity, you know, it's a rusticity, it's a rustic architecture, it's rural, it's not dwarfed by historicism. It has elements of historicism, but the whole emanates something else. And this telluric power of the building, of the structure, is, I think, to be remarked and even enjoyed. It's not an academically conceived building. It's a look at this, you know. I mean, it doesn't go so far as you know, the Güell Park by Gaudi, but still, you know, there are elements here which are not of an academic order at all. They are not, you know, classicist in a stiff and pedantic way, not at all. Interesting structure, Soufflot. It seems he was indeed a complex architect. Le Nymphe de Soufflot, patrimoine. It's, you know, 240 years old or so. Okay, so we paid homage, somewhat short homage to Victor Bourgeois and Monsieur Soufflot. So from a Belgian architect to a French architect who lived about 250 years ago.